Well, hello there. This is the Angry GM, and this is my casual, crappy, critical video gaming stream, which is now becoming a regular Sunday night thing at this bat time on this bat channel. And I have finally decided to just get down and commit to something here. And what I'm committing to is a playthrough of both Hollow Knight, and then following it, we are going to do a compare and contrast and do a playthrough of Silksong. And that should take us about a million months. And I need to lower the volume on my phone so that so that it's not echoing through here. Hello to Procelis. Thanks for hanging out. And I will be getting started with the gameplay in just a moment. I don't want to do a long preamble. But if you're discovering me because of these videos, I have to point out that my normal gig is putting out long-form tabletop role-playing game advice content over on theangrygm.com, and this is just something that I do to hang out with some fans and kill some time for fun on Sunday nights. And hello, Mathromancer, who is also here, and Norman Ramsey. Hello to Norman, who I assume is Norman, the Norman. Anyway, so without going into too much preamble, I have wanted to do a full stream of Hollow Knight for a long time. It is, no lie, my favorite game of all time, and Silksong was not quite the game I wanted it to be, but we're not going to talk about Silksong yet. We're just going to talk about Hollow Knight, and we're going to play through it, and man, am I going to have a lot to talk about as we play through this. But I should point out, number one, I have replayed Hollow Knight numerous times since its release. I have hundreds of hours in it, but I am also not one of those hardcore people who can do all the things, and I have never done the Pantheons. I have, like I've gotten the true ending and I've beaten the Radiance and all that crap, but I didn't do the Pantheons or the post game content, and I don't intend to. We will do what I consider to be a complete playthrough of this game the way I like to do it, and we will talk about why it is that way and how the game was designed and all the mechanics and maps and all the things. It's going to be a good time. And then we'll move on to Silksong 3 months from now when I get done with this. But I do have to warn you that I didn't put any practice into this, as I said I would, and so I might be very rusty, because I do replay this about once a year, but the last time I played it was right before Silksong came out, and then I got obsessed with Silksong, and it's going to be interesting to go back and see if that breaks me. I'm also going to observe my typical rule of not talking over cutscenes. Not that there aren't too many. Not that there are too many. And we're just gonna go and explore and experience this game as the absolute work of art that it is, because this is a master. This is a master craft. Okay, in a way that Silksong is not. But again, we'll get to that. No more Silksong for tonight. Tonight we're going to play something that we love, or that I love the most. And also, because it is Easter Sunday, I want to wish all of my brothers and sisters in Christ a blessed Easter. And I can't think of a better way to spend the end of my Easter Sunday than spend it with all of the friends that I've made in my community over the years, especially those who have been supporting me and sticking by me through this very difficult season in my life. So I'm grateful to all of you, and I am grateful to God for blessing me with all of your presence. And that said, let's play Hollow Knight. Enough rambling. And I assume chat will let me know if the sound isn't balanced good. Okay. Yeah, I don't have a game saved. I've replayed this dozens of times. I don't have a game saved. I always delete my saves. I don't have saves for anything. Okay, thanks, Kate. I will turn it up once I get into the game. All right, let me take care of the audio thing. I also have a cat climbing on me. But let's see here. Let's just bump the audio up a bit, and then you'll let me know if that's too loud. I wanted to let the intro play because the intro deserves a lot of discussion, but also so does this tutorial area that we find ourselves in right off the bat, because this game does introduction and tutorial amazingly. So, we end up here, and there's really only two controls we have, and the game tells us, our first move is to attack, and we have to make our way into the game by knocking down these little walls. And I shouldn't have done the little down slash. Okay. One of the things this game did well, despite being a fairly difficult game, by the standards of the time, a fairly difficult game. One of the things that this game did very well was to be very, very approachable. It was the sort of game that even if you weren't really into difficult games, you were willing to give it a try. And a big part of that is just the overall simplicity of the gameplay. Okay, when you start the game, you basically have two moves. You can jump and you can sword. And that's pretty much it. And those are easy to master. And here, the game actually teaches you that if you break through walls and then walk through them, you'll be able to see areas that are hidden in the shadows. So, the tutorial area... The tutorial area is... It's a very subtle little area, but it is doing a lot more than you think it is. The most important thing is that it is teaching you that the primary way you interact with the world is by attacking, which is going to become important later. Because by this point, okay, obviously we've already learned to attack, and we're going to jump up and attack this thing, and the little blobs run around, and we can instantly see that we get the little visual blue hit point masks up there. And it's actually even worth noting, man, I'm already going all over the place. I got to try to be less rambly. It is neat how the two little blue masks are animated, they wiggle, they drip. They're a slightly different color because movement in your HUD draws your attention, which is also why, like in Legend of Zelda, when you're down to just one or two hearts, that heart blinks to let you know you're in danger. Anyway, this is a fairly important bit of the tutorial here, because the tutorial area is just a fairly linear little whoops, okay, and we lost our health. Okay, that's fine. The tutorial area is just a fairly linear little hack and slash your way through, fight some bugs, learn some basic platforming so you know how to move. This is actually very interesting because even here, it's like, oh, we can't quite make that jump. And then I bounce off the ceiling. Oh, this is great. Then I bounce off the ceiling. Okay. But that little bridge falling out area, and then breaking this one-way, this little one-way opening here, is very important because one of the game's primary structures is this sort of loop where it will divert you off your main path and then lead you around by an alternate way, and ultimately it will connect you back to the main path. And so by dropping you off that bridge and then having you circle around and come another way, and also showing you those like one-way breakable walls that let you break back into the path, the game has taught you a lot about how it's structuring its levels just in that one little thing without any words at all. Okay. What's also very interesting here is that the tutorial area seems like we're never going to be able to get back into it. Like, we drop down, and if we're fairly experienced with other Metroidvania games, we're familiar with the idea of, okay, you have this isolated tutorial level, and then we throw you into the main game, and you're never going to get back in there. But if we had seen that jump that we can't make, that would be at odds with this idea of never going back there. And in fact, Hollow Knight is fairly unique in allowing you to go back to the tutorial area later, and the tutorial area itself even opens into other areas. I don't know. I never know. Do I read the text to everybody and assume that some people are listening or not, and just assume that people can read it if they want to, or assume that nobody... this game is now 10 years old. Nobody needs me to explain anything. Like, this stream didn't need to happen. Right? This stream should have happened like 10 years ago. Or 8 years ago, whatever it was. So, anyway. Oh, you do you like it when I read the okay. Should I do little voices, too? Should I do... Like little Elderbug, he talks like a little old man, what have you. And he kind of pushes us to go into this well, but we're going to walk... We're going to walk along and just see that there's nothing here except that there is. There is a door with a simple key. This game is not shy about showing off its influences. And what's fun? Oh, we immediately have a choice of. We immediately have a choice of direction. So we're just gonna go right. We're just gonna arbitrarily assume that we decided that we would go right, and we got that little charging bug. So this game was not shy about showing off its influences. And obviously the main influence was Super Metroid. And of course, various Metroidvania games, but Super Metroid most of all. Except that there are a lot of other influences too that we will get to that don't get nearly as much play. Also, the single best character in the entire franchise here is Quirrell. Naminobes. Hello there. How delightful to meet another traveler on these forgotten roads. You're a short one, but you've a strong look about you. I'm Quirrell. I have something of an obsession with uncharted places. This ancient kingdom holds many fascinating mysteries, and one of the most intriguing of them is standing right before us. A great stone egg lying in the corpse of an ancient kingdom. And this egg, is it warm? It certainly gives off a unique air. I'm slightly British now. Can it be opened? There are strange marks all over it. I do so love a mystery, and who knows what other marvels lie even deeper below us. And I like Quirrell because he is based... Sorry. He's got more to say. For so long I've felt drawn here, so many tales full of wonders and horrors. No longer could I resist. I just had to see it for myself. And what a time I choose to arrive. This dead world has sprung to life. The creatures are riled up and the earth rumbles. The air is thick. I wonder what could have brought it all about. To persevere in this ruin, that old nail alone just won't... Okay, this is actually getting a little tiresome. I'm sorry, Proselyus, I don't think I can keep this up. One only has to look around. Plenty have come before us, and most have met their grisly end. Many more equipped than you and I. Which, honestly, even this dialogue is kind of subtly telling you everything about this game. Like, Quirrell is communicating to you how to play the game. You know, we're here to explore. Who knows how far this goes? It's dangerous. Find equipment, level up your nail, go deeper and deeper, and just find all the mysteries. That's the point of the game. Which is sort of the point that I wanted to make at the start with the introduction and the whole Super Metroid thing. Because one of the hallmarks of the Metroidvania genre is this idea of being isolated and alone in a hostile environment, and having to basically rely on yourself and build yourself up. And the lone wanderer coming along the road, seeing the lights of a nearly dead village in the distance, and then dropping into the game world and getting attacked repeatedly by the pillbug while he's trying to have a conversation about the opening. So that it perfectly sets up that idea of isolation and wandering through the dark alone through the corpse of a dead world. I should also note that there are definitely Dark Souls elements in there, but this is an important enemy coming up. Okay, whoops. This is an important enemy coming up, so I'm going to let him whack me in the head. Okay, the easiest way to deal with this guy, you can see he's got two moves. He has a long-range smashy attack, and then every once in a while he'll hop backwards and release a shockwave. And kind of the best way to deal with him is to kind of hit him on the jump, hit him on the hop, and then immediately like jump backwards to get out of his range. And even this enemy might be a little much for some players right now, but we then find this happy little fella here, the little grub, and we can smash his jar, which we have learned to smash literally everything from the tutorial. That's the one thing the tutorial taught us, was the sword is the solution to all of your problems. Right? So otherwise, though, we just keep exploring, and then we have lights and a mine this way, or we can go to the left. Let's keep going to the right. So, Ari and William of Team Cherry have actually... Oh, and here's another delightful character, which is Mila. Ari and William have claimed several times that Dark Souls and the Soulsborne franchise did not heavily influence the Hollow Knight, and they haven't really said much about Silksong and its influences, but they have been very clear that they don't feel Dark Souls influenced Hollow Knight at all. And I will be very clear in saying that they are full of shit, but not in the way you might think. Because I don't think, apart from stealing the corpse run mechanic, things like the boss fights and the difficulty, I really don't think that was actually Dark Souls. And here we have this crumbly floor. This is an old Metroidvania trick of making an obstacle salient, so that later when we have the means to get around it, we remember that it's there. It's also, this is something that's been pointed out before, but but the game is also very good about, in transitional zones between one area of the game and the next, switching the color palette and combining the two zones together. So we go from this very, the very dark blue rocky caves of the Forgotten Crossroads, and then suddenly we pick up the pinks and purples, and we can see the crystals of an area that we will not explore for quite some time. Okay. So Super Metroid was obviously a big influence, and Super Metroid and all of the games in the Metroid franchise, or many of the games in the Metroid franchise, tend to do the same pattern where they start with an isolated tutorial area that you really do never come back to. Like the series, the Space Colony, or the Space Pirate Frigate in Metroid Prime. Also here, we are locked in, we have gates, but we might notice in the environment there is a lever below us, and this is going to be more of that looping type structure. Loops within loops within loops, which this game loves to do. Anyway, so the introduction to the game is perfect because we get two cutscenes. The first cutscene establishes the threat and even hints ultimately at the goal that we'll be trying to accomplish. Because we see that there's something terrible and orangey red, which in the blues and blacks of the opening, that orangey red color stands out. It's a very high contrast color. And there's a reason they chose the bright orange red for the infection, which we don't know what that means yet, but you can see it whenever damage is done and when enemies explode. It stands out against pretty much almost every color palette in this game. Okay. It's actually also, there was a reason why for a while every movie poster was blue and orange, because those two colors are so high contrast. And orange, like once you get into oranges and tans and pinks, then you get into human skin tones. So you can always set a human against a blue background and get a good contrast. But and there's a little dude we can't reach, but we'll remember him for later. Of course, we don't know why we're trying to rescue the grubs. All right. So, and right now we're kind of just following the path. It was like, we do have a fairly linear path, except that we had two options right at the beginning. We could have gone left and right. Had we gone left, we would have ended up at the top of this shaft that we're now in. But we went right. Either way, though, you end up having to descend this shaft, and that's important. That even though the game gives you a choice right away to tell you, hey, this is a game about exploring on your own initiative, it's an open world, go ahead and go whichever direction you want, it is nonetheless going to funnel you to important locations until it doesn't. And you can see now we could go back up to the Forgotten Crossroads if we wanted to. Okay, so this is where we would have gone if we went left. And those gates that prevent us from going down any further ensure that we have to come around in this direction. And that's very important because we're going to have to engage with an important mechanic soon. But first, let's go here and see what's up here. Okay. This is an excellent example of not needing any fucking dialogue boxes to tell you you're on a quest. All right? There was nothing we had to read here. If we had come in here before we rescued that first little grub, we would have found that the little elder grub, the grub father back there, he's just sobbing and crying. And all these other little eggs are empty, and then we would rescue a grub who looks like the grub father and eventually find our way back here, and then he's happy and he throws us some money, and there's the happy grub, and there we go. The entire premise of the quest, along with the scope of the quest, because look how many friggin' eggs there are to fill, is explained without one bit of dialogue, which is definitely something they picked up from Super Metroid, which did a whole lot without any dialogue. Same with the introduction. So right off the bat, we see the black egg, and there is that terrible howling noise, and then we see the high contrast orangey red, which tells us something unnatural and evil is in there. And then we also see those 3 masks glowing and holding it back. And then we see the lone wanderer coming along and arriving in the kingdom, and we don't know who he is, but then he's us, and then we start to explore. So again, wordlessly, the game gives us the entire premise, everything we need to know about the characterization, and then just drops us into the tutorial area. It does have a nice little poem. And now we find here, the Pilgrims of Way. Travelers of Hallownest descend through verdant wilds and fungal groves to the city at this kingdom's heart. There all wishes shall be granted, all truths revealed. And once again, we now have this subtle pull of, okay, there's a goal. We want to get to that city, which is at the end of this path. But now we got this guy, and look, we all know how ability-gated progression works, right? There's nothing we can do about this little guy. Not yet. So, also these little bouncy guys, the little guys who like ping pong they karam off the walls at odd angles. They seem like such minor enemies, but the first time you're here and the first time you're playing the game, they're actually really obnoxious and annoying because it is kind of hard to get a bead on how they move compared to the way everything else is moved. You know, I mean, you've got the zippy flies that come down, and you got the little tick-tick guys that crawl along the floors, and then there's those guys that karam off at odd angles. And they become very memorable, which is important in a little while. And now we meet another vitally important NPC. Yeah. At the time this came out, Hollow Knight got a lot of talk about its map system because it did something very unique with the map system. But it wasn't as unique as it was. Now, I'm not discounting the map system. The map system in this game is absolutely fantastic, and I will have a lot to say about every map. We will spend a lot of time looking at the maps because the map of almost every area is a work of art. It does something, each one does something specific in the area that it's in. Okay. So, yeah, as soon as we get done talking to Cornifer here. Also notice how characters' names do not appear in the lower left until they introduce themselves. So Cornifer's name appeared in time with him introducing itself. That's just the kind of little tweaky detail that just is so gorgeous. Okay. So for like the one person who doesn't know, in each area you find this little guy Cornifer, and he sells you a hand-drawn partial map of the area, which you can then fill in if you own a pen. And we're actually not going to buy the pen, and I've got a reason for that. But we're not going to buy the pen. Okay, and I don't have any pins, so I can't. It doesn't let me point out things. So the map here, it gives us just enough information. Like, it's not cluttered. It's a fairly simple map. But it gives us enough information that right here, we can figure out where we are and probably where we want to go. At the top, we can see that weird black egg that we were in. That's pretty obvious in that dome. And then on the left-hand side, we can see the little conifer's head drawn on the map. That tells us where we are. And then that tells us that we want to go over to the right, and then maybe head up, and then into the center where that scary face is, because that's the only other detail on the map to pursue. And of course, right above us are the elevated platforms in that area we just dropped. So now the game has ensured that we're going to discover the map maker and hopefully find the map. And now the map has kind of given us a goal, which also lets us decide whether we are goal-seeking or exploring. Because if I was goal-seeking, I would immediately head to the right. But I am exploring, and I can see that there's a room off to the left, and I want to go find out what's over there. And this is all without me being able to mark my location on the map or update the map in any way. Okay. So that is a move that the game sort of expects you to eventually figure out on your own, which is the pogo. Right? You only have attacks. You can attack up, you can attack to the right, left, and then you can attack downward in midair. And eventually you do kind of figure out, usually by bouncing off an enemy, just in normal combat, not here, that you can pogo and use it as acrobatics. This is something that I talked about how the game definitely was influenced by Super Metroid. We'll come back to the Dark Souls thing and whether that was important or not. But there are a whole bunch of other games that are wrapped up in the DNA of Hollow Knight. Many Capcom platformers from the original NES era, DuckTales and Mega Man, are very strong influences. Basically, every Capcom platformer had really tight, solid controls, just the way this game does. The Knight is super responsive. He has a variable height jump based on when you release the controls. He's not momentum-based, so he just he starts, he stops, he moves. You can move him on a dime. He's really easy and comfortable to control, like all of the best Capcom games of the NES era. The DuckTales Scrooge McDuck's downward pogo being used as both an attack and as a whatchamacallit, as like a traversal mechanic is like they said it, but they didn't need to say it. Like, everybody knew it. On top of that, you have a bunch of 2D action platformers and exploration-based platformers and RPG-type games, too. So, like, Phazanadu, Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link. There's definitely influences of Simon's Quest and Castlevania. Yeah, I realize I should have commented on the hidden wall, but if I comment on absolutely everything, Kate, then I'm never going to finish a thought. And I really do want to talk about what I'm really trying to get at here is the whole. We went through this period in the 20-teens of like nostalgia influenced games, of the retro game. It was the era of the retro revival. We have another jump we can't make over there. We can't get up into that area because we are now exploring everywhere but the way we want to go. And Zelda 2 also links up thrust, down thrust, and the general combat mechanics of like dueling and working your way around enemy defenses. That's all here. But anyway, in the 20-teens, we went through this period of like the retro revival game. And like so we had Shovel Knight, for example, which was a big successful one, and then on the complete failure side, we had Mighty Number Nine, which was, you know, like Mighty Number Nine was basically supposed to be we have Mega Man at home. And then there were a lot of ones that were less successful that nobody really remembered. And the thing that the most successful ones did, like Hollow Knight and like Shovel Knight, is rather than simply trying to imitate one game, they became a love letter to a whole bunch of different games. So if you grew up playing certain types of games and then you played this game was everything you loved about those games that you grew up playing. So obviously, you know, Super Metroid and exploration-based games like that, certainly a big influence as far as the level design. But then you have the Capcom stuff as far as the controls and the boss design, which we'll get to. And then you have the traversal mechanics, again, coming from Capcom. And so it wasn't really just one game that fed this. And so when you started playing this game, it became very clear, if you are a certain type of person of a certain age, that this was a game made by people who grew up playing the same games you loved. And that they knew exactly how to do... Oh, there's money down there. We're going to drop down there and get the monies. And they knew exactly how to do it right. So this game was especially revered or especially loved because it revived the single-player Metroidvania platformer genre, which was going through kind of a sad period at the time. And it perfected it, did some unique things with it, but also it had all of these other wonderful influences in it. There was no good way to get that money. There never is. Anyway. Now here is where, again, I say the whole exploration versus goal-seeking thing. Because if we're seeking goals, we would follow the sign, and I would go up there. But I am exploring this area now. Because Quirrell told me, this is about exploring, and I get to explore, and I have choices. So I'm going to explore this area to death before I go find out what's the scary face at the center of it. That's just how I want to play. Okay, I want to see every area. Okay. Shovel Knight 2 was a really interesting case because Shovel Knight came from a lot of the same pedigree as Hollow Knight, but not the Metroidvania. So it was a really well-executed action platformer, also inspired by many of the same 2D platformer games, Legend of Zelda, Castlevania, or I'm sorry, I should say Adventure of Link, because Adventure of Link is not a Legend of Zelda game. Castlevania, DuckTales, the Capcom games, all the yada yada yada. There's actually a lot of similarities between Hollow Knight and Shovel Knight, except for the whole structure and scenario design of the entire game itself. Apart from that, they're basically the same game. And Shovel Knight even did things like the map screen from Super Mario Bros. 2. Or Super Mario Bros. 3, not 2. Like the game plays out on the like this. Oh, we're just taking this from Super Mario 3. I see. But then it did some interesting and unique things with it. So, and that was sort of the right way to do a nostalgia game. Instead of just trying to repeat the formula and make the lightning strike again, it was, you wanted to combine. Oh, Norman is asking about the signposts. I'll get to the signposts in a second, but first we're going to have a little boss fight. And this shows off an excellent example of boss fights in tutorial design, and also the boss won't bother us until we whack him. Okay. So the Gru's mother is a giant version of those bouncy bugs that we encountered earlier that were kind of hard to... Oh, okay. I just took damage from, like, the easiest boss in this game. Because I'm trying to show off how it moves. So dealing with those bouncy bugs, especially because they're... Man, You know what? Hollow Knight is really slow compared to Silksong. Like, I'm talking about how great the controls are, but he's not in a hurry. He's taking things at his own time here. Okay, there we go. All right, we got my groove now. Yeah, he's deliberate. He thinks about what he's doing, and then he takes his moves. And then, hooray, we beat the boss. This also is how you do, like, the surprise screw job after you kill the boss right. Right? Because it doesn't just explode and damage you. It just throws a bunch of enemies at you. And I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die to the babies that came out of the Gru's mother. Alright. I mentioned that because I want to talk about the boss design a bit, because the boss design gets a lot of, it's like Dark Souls bosses. And I really don't think it is. A lot of it is actually Mega Man bosses. If Mega Man had a sword instead of a gun, these would be Mega Man bosses. Oh, but also we have Sly here. And it's good that we come down here because Sly is a merchant and he goes back up to the town. And then he tells us, hey, come back up to the town and we can buy stuff. Which actually wouldn't be a bad idea to go back up to the town. Okay. So. Alright. So... yeah, Mega Man bosses. Yeah, we'll come back to that when we talk about the False Knight. So Norman asked about the signposting. Oh, the one thing that I wanted to mention about the boss fight there was how we were trained to deal with it by the bouncy bugs that we dealt with earlier that were kind of particularly a little bit of a pain in the ass. So, and because the visual design was the same, and they had the same, and she had the same basic move, but one more, which was that like butt slam kind of, or the ricocheting slam. You know, we were kind of prepared to deal with that boss. Okay. Now, to be fair, yeah, I see what you're saying, Avatar Cliffy, there about Dark Souls evolved from TV. Everything evolves from everything. Okay. Here is where the comparison to Dark Souls is absolutely fair. It is in the tone, the themes, and the storytelling. Okay? What Dark Souls introduced, and by the way, this was unique to Dark Souls. Okay, you can talk about the difficulty of Dark Souls being its USP, right? But what was really unique to Dark Souls, more than its difficulty, and more than its not more than its combat engine. Its combat engine was the most important part, because if not for Dark Souls, no slapdash. I will say that. But what was very unique to Dark Souls was it was approach to storytelling. Because it didn't really have an approach to storytelling. Instead, the story was entirely told by your interacting with the world and by your reading descriptions and by your listening to dialogue. And apart from that, you were thrown into this decaying world that was trapped in this basically trapped in a cycle of decay. And you didn't really even understand necessarily the significance of what you were trying to accomplish or how it connected to what had come before. And, you know, you maybe didn't even realize at the end you had a choice in Dark Souls. You know, if you were attentive, you should have realized you had a choice. But you may not have even realized you had a choice. And you certainly didn't understand what the significance of that choice was unless you were very, very careful in how you played through the game. So it was the sort of game that you had to play literally. You had to play it the way, you know, you do the way you would study a work of literature. Right? Okay. This signpost, by the way, we don't actually know what it's pointing us towards yet, since you asked about the signpost, but we are going to discover it right now because it points us up here, and then we see that same symbol here. And the game is very good about using its visual language to teach you how to read its signals, so that later on you know what things mean. Okay, and so here we find this guy. Okay. And this is the last stag, which is the fast travel thing. And if I had to complain about one thing in this game, what I would complain about is the implementation of fast travel. But I think we'll save that diatribe for another time. Okay. I will eventually use the fast travel, but we're not going to take it just yet. Okay. Because I want to point out again that we came around in a big loop. And did you just ludonarrative resonance? Oh, get the hell out of here with your ludonarrative resonance. What are you trying to publish a thesis here? Come on now, ludonarrative resonance. The ludonarrative resonance. Say the themes were strong. That's how normal people say it, okay? Damn. Okay. And then we have this passage. It's dark. So this is another thing where we're at this point we have found a number of passages that, yeah, I know I already said it the way normal people said it because I talk like normal people. So now we have this dark passage and we can't go any further and we can't activate anything. And then we have come all the way back around to me falling off that ledge. Okay. Also, I really could stop obsessing over killing literally every enemy, but it gives me more time to talk about things. Alright, so now we have come around a big loop. We have basically gone the whole circuit that this map shows us, and in theory, we could now go this way and go to the scary face and find out what's what. Okay. But I want to point out, so we have now found quite a few connections to areas, or quite a few passages that we can't go any further in. You know, there's the crystal mine thing, and we can't go any further that way. There's the path to the city that was blocked by the giant pill bug. There's some jumps we can't make, some dark passages, a tram that we can't ride. All of this stuff. And this area is called the Forgotten Crossroads. So not only is the game teaching us to kind of explore in loops and, you know, follow its signposting, but at the same time, you know, make our own choices, but it is going to funnel us through certain areas. But it has also shown us that this game is going to get a lot bigger, that there's a lot of directions we're going to eventually be able to go. Just the implication of the name Crossroads is enough to say that. Okay, so the Elder Bug, by the way, every time you come back to town, he comments on the places you've been, but he will also comment on the next place he thinks you should go. So if you're ever feeling really lost, he does kind of say things like, "Oh, I heard there's a peak full of crystals, and people went there looking for treasure. You should check it out," and stuff like that. This is Iselda, Cornifer's wife. She sells mapping supplies, and we're not going to buy any. We are going to buy one for right now. We will eventually buy everything. But for right now, I'm just going to buy the Wayward Compass and never put it on because I have to get every charm. Speaking of, Ari and William said the charm system was inspired by Paper Mario, the 1,000-Year Door of all things. I also like the detail where if you talk to the shopkeeper across the counter, they sell. But if you talk to them from behind the counter, they have dialogue to share with you. I like that. Oh, and now we can equip our first charm, but we're not going to equip our first charm. Because we're going to go buy stuff from Sly, because we've been finding money. And we're going to equip the best charm in the game. Okay. So Sly sells us all this equipment, and one of the things that might stand out to us, particularly if we found that dark area, is the lantern. Which, if you're reading the descriptions, this is a thing to light your way, and we have already found a dark passage. So, and there's also a key, and we've already found one locked door. So we're definitely going to want to come back and keep shopping here. But for right now, we're going to buy the Gathering Swarm. The best charm in the game. And we're probably going to keep it on through most of the game. And I am the only person who plays Hollow Knight who actually says that. Because the money design in this game is terrible. It's the one thing that Silksong improved. Was the money design. I guess I could put on the compass for now, just to help out with the whole, when I'm looking at the map. But I am not going to buy the pen. We're going to purposely leave the maps unupdated for a while. Okay, and then we're going to drop back here. And so now, by the way, notice that we have, like, this sign very clearly is pointing us to, it's got little houses on it, and it's pointing us to the village up above. That's what that sign means. And the other, those things are just decorative. But then I think there's a sign too no, there's no sign for the black egg. Okay. Doesn't matter. But we rescued a bunch of grubs. And we have already, from rescuing the first grub, we know that the grub father rewards us with money whenever we send grubs back to him. So let's go see if he's got any more prizes for us, shall we? It's one of those things that says, come back here every so often. I know I said I'm not going to keep doing this, but infinitely better than fleas. Screw the fleas. Yeah. All right. Thanks, Grub Father. All right. We have now basically explored this. Yeah, right. Come back, get another hole punch in your Grub Father loyalty card. Punch 10 and you get a free sandwich. Punch 20 and you get a piece of pure ore, or white ore, or pale ore, or whatever the hell it's good, or pale oil. Pale something. Whatever it is. You get something. Oh, also, here's a really, really tiny detail, by the way. So right above the archway, you can see the symbols of the same three masks up there. See it? I don't know why I'm jumping. So up there above the archway, you can see the symbols for the three masks that also guard the black egg. Okay. That is, and you can see the symbols for the three masks again up there. One with 6 eyes, one with 1 eye, and one with 2 big eyes and 2 little eyes. So That is something that was corrected recently, as in like 2 months ago. So, in the game's earliest version, the 3 masks were identical, and all of the graphics for the 3 masks, they all showed the same mask. It was all, I think it was all the 6-eye mask, right? At some point, they decided to give each of those 3 masks a unique appearance. But they had never updated that little icon above the archway. A patch dropped 2 months ago. The first time Hollow Knight has been patched in, what, like 5 years or whatever the hell it is? And one of the things they corrected was that, where they corrected that so that that little thing that nobody ever noticed above the archway now shows the 3 different masks instead of 3 identical masks. Okay, and the only thing... Right, finally the game is playable. Still can't fix Fluke Swarm, though, or Fluke Munga, Flukeness, Fluke Shotgun. Whatever. I'm so weirdly not, like, I know every tiny little detail, and then I can't remember the name of, like, a charm everybody knows. Or the name of a character. The Fluke Nest. Fluke Nest. That's what it's called. Alright, now, we have another one of those big burly guys down there. And as I noted, we didn't have to fight the first one. It's possible that he was a little bit too much for us. And it's interesting that the game actually gives you the opportunity here to just, like, bypass him. Because we could have just jumped over him and kept going. And the game really shouldn't want you to do that. Okay. So. Alright, my senses are coming back here. I remember how to play this game now. That Gruzmother thing was a little embarrassing. Not as embarrassing as 2 weeks ago with Lace, but it's up there. Okay. And here we have another gate. And you know what? At this point now we know the whole gate thing. It's like, oh, okay, I gotta go around. I'll find another way around. It's fine. Nope, can't go up any further. Oops. Yeah, I know. I got cocky. This is... So... One of the things about many of the enemies in this game... Okay. Actually, okay. False Knight time. So here's our False Knight. The first real proper boss. And you might notice that he has 2 moves. He either jumps towards you and then does a downward smash, or he jumps away from you, and then he's going to do that, and then he does his shockwave. So he's using exactly the same move set, or a very similar move set to those guys, to the big burly guys that we fought, plus that. Also, I don't know if anyone needs to hear it at this point, but I am going to point it out. He is actually skippable. Like, after you reach that... Oh, shit, I can't get back up there? Can I not get back up there to deal with it? No, I didn't want to skip him. I just wanted to show that he was skippable. Oh, damn it. I don't want to skip him. We're going to go back to the bench. Damn it! Yeah, I just saved scum to go back to the bench. I'm like, probably everybody knows that he's skippable. But just if anybody didn't, you can skip him. There is a point later where if you skipped him, you do have to go back and kill him. Okay, but you can see after the first time, he does his smash attack. You can see that the wall above the gate breaks, and at that point you can smash through it. It's not breakable the moment you enter the room. You have to push him to his first little berserk phase. But I do want to fight him because this is where we'll do boss design. Okay. I contend that many of the bosses in this game are more inspired by the Capcom platformers of old, especially Mega Man, Mega Man X particularly, and Ari and William did cite Mega Man X as a huge influence on them. I think that was much more of a philosophy than any Souls game. And it's just clear in the basic ways in which the bosses operate. Okay, because there's basically 3 ways to build a 2D boss in the old school way. Okay, the first way was to build a highly patternized boss. A boss who does the same basic moves over and over again. He just executes on a pattern, and so you avoid his pattern, wait for your openings, and then attack. The second way is to have the boss use a random number generator to pick the next move that it's going to do, and then it does the next move, leaving you to react to it. And the third way is the boss reads your controller inputs or reads your position or something and then chooses its next move relative to you. Relative to either how you're moving or else what your controller input is or how far away you are, whatever it is. And Capcom was a master of using all 3 of those different types of bosses to mix up the bosses in games like Mega Man so that players who struggled with one type of boss could always find a boss they could beat. Some people were really good at getting patterns down, and they would learn the patterns and then execute on that. And then other people were really good at reacting to the boss's moves, and some people were just really good at learning how to control the boss by just doing the right inputs. And you can see those patterns and that basic sense of design in all of the Hollow Knight bosses. Okay, especially the first 2 types. There's not a whole lot of bosses that do input reading or choose their moves based on you. Okay. So the False Knight is a good example of a boss who chooses from a limited move set and then executes on them, and then you have to read his moves and react. And I'm just hanging out here because in case anybody didn't know, at the end of the fight, the tip of his little mace comes and creeps away, and you can knock it. It's like the most adorable, stupid thing. Right? Anyway. If you skip the False Knight, by the way, you don't get the city crest, and then you can't get into the City of Tears, and then you do have to come back and beat him, but whatever. Okay. The Gruzmother is an example of the other type. It's basically just executing on a pattern. Regardless of what you're doing, it's basically just moving around the arena, though it will occasionally go into that, like, berserk mode. And while we could follow this path, which leads us back here, and now we get this note. This is what happens, by the way, whenever we've substantially completed an area, Cornifer moves on. And if we haven't yet purchased the map, we have to go back up to town. But remember what I said about that high contrast red and orange thing? Because these torches definitely draw your attention upward. So that instead of just moving through the gate, you're kind of drawn to check out what's going on up here. And in we go. And then we get a bench. Okay. And then we meet our first snail. Okay, and I see both Kate and Procelis did not know you could skip the False Knight. So, you have learned something new. You're now obligated to like and subscribe or whatever. Okay. The Snail Shaman here gives us our first legit upgrade in the game. Because this is a Metroidvania game, it is basically about acquiring upgrades in order to open up more of the world. Right? Our basic pattern is we explore as much as we can, then we find an upgrade, and somehow the upgrade opens up the next area of the world, which we'll see. But and there's also kind of a particular rule that Hollow Knight is pretty good about following, and that is that most of the time, this is not every time, but many times, you will enter an area, find the boss, beat the boss, and then from the boss or near the boss or just after the boss, you will learn the upgrade. And then, just like in Metroid, we are now locked into this area to learn how to use our ability. And this is a pretty heavy-handed one, but that's okay. Okay, because this is actually a very significant ability. We learned our Fireball spell, our ranged attack. Okay. Now we have these new guys. You know what I didn't appreciate? How small this game is. Coming to this from Silksong, gosh, the game is tiny, and it's really hard to see lots of the enemies. Like that little roly-poly guy, I didn't even see him, and I know they're in here. Okay. There's one of the roly-polies. And notice how I'm not practicing with the spell at all. Okay. So the game is giving us plenty of time to experiment with the spell, because until now, the only thing we've had to use mana for was our healing. And now all of a sudden we have a spell, and so it wants to make sure not only do we understand, first of all, how powerful the spell is, and exactly what it does, which is pretty easy because it's just a horizontal ranged attack, but it's also helping us learn how to manage mana, right? Because striking enemies gives us mana, and then using spells depletes our mana, and oh hey, it's this roly-poly guy. And then it tells us, hey, by the way, if you haven't figured out how to cast that spell yet, now might be a good time. Because we can now attack the roly-poly guy without having to get close to him. And then he spits out the little roly-polies. So if we've depleted our mana, well, now we know what to do, right? Though it's easier said than done. Right? So then we have this way of... So the game is also teaching us tactically how to use enemies to recover our mana. Right? And then it gives us instantly gives us another charm. And now we are set free. You've passed the test. The game is also now signaling us as to where to go next. Very obvious. Like, everybody knows where to go now. Even if you've never played Hollow Knight, you're like, oh wait, now you go kill that other roly-poly guy and follow the path to the city that grants all the wishes, right? Yes. But even if that's not enough to signal you, also note that when the game spits us out, it spits us out right below the place where that passage actually was. Okay, we are very, very close. So it is using a combination of salience, a highly memorable obstacle that we wanted to get past, and convenience by putting us very near to where that obstacle was using a loop, or in this case more of a spiral, to get us to move along to the next location that it wants us to go. I want to comment on the False Knight and mana, and I also want to comment on the music design, but we'll come back to the music design. Okay. So there's an interesting thing about the False Knight, and it's one of those things that doesn't seem weird until you think about it. And honestly, I don't know why it is. And you can also see what I said, by the way, about transitional areas, where we are clearly transitioning to a new zone. We are now left the Forgotten Crossroads, or behind, and we are in Green Path, one of my favorite areas in the game. I absolutely love Green Path. I love the music in Green Path. Okay, and then we get these... And then we start to see new little enemies. And the game is very nice about presenting new enemies to us. We can see this guy is dangerous. Like, he's like leaking gas. We don't want to get too close of him. And that's why. Because after we hit him, he's going to pop. He's going to puff. And then he also explodes. And it's nice that he puffs after we hit him, so that when he explodes, it doesn't completely blindside us. I hate... So this is just a weird quirk, too. I really want to get back to the False Knight, but this is just a weird quirk of mine I have to mention. I absolutely hate in video games the sizzly sound of acid. Every video game that has good sound design and uses acid, the acid has a very, very sizzly sound to it, especially when something drops into it. I'm even going to fall into it, and I'm going to be quiet so that you can hear the acid sizzle. You hear that hissing sizzle? I hate that. It's like nails on a chalkboard. It's like rubbing a balloon. Oops. Well, hello, you. I like how, by the way, those guys, like as soon as you trigger the first one, you can notice their teeth in the ground. So you don't have to ever get caught by surprise again. It's like the Dark Souls mimic. Okay. Anyway. So there's something very interesting. Early on, we were encouraged to upgrade our nail. Did we do that, or is that quite... No, we have not upgraded our nail yet. We will not upgrade our nail for quite some time. We were told that we should look around for items and equipment and consider getting a better nail and all sorts of stuff, but that's a long-term... Hello, 2AP1895. Since you dropped in to say hello, I will say hi to you. All right, False Knight. I really don't want to lose the... Oh, shit. But then we're going to have to talk about Hornet and the Chase. Yeah, I hear that. But I hope work's not too good. Catch the recording of the stream. There's a lot of good stuff in it. At least I think so. Because I only say good stuff. Okay. All right, so this is a funny thing that is also a bit of a fake out. Because obviously we see that little character and she immediately runs away and we have no idea who she is. We don't know her name is Silksong yet. But also this is a jump we can't reach. And now we've learned the game, right? Because now we know what the game is about. And so we're like, oh, okay, we're going to get an item that's going to let us jump farther. And then we're going to come back here and go chase Silksong away. Chase Silksong down. We're going to go find Silksong. That's probably where the boss is. And we're going to need to get something to go up there, right? And the joke is yes and no. But... Okay. I can't not pick up every coin, by the way. I'm really sorry. Okay. But again, so actually what the game has done, we're never going to get back to the weird thing that I noticed about the False Knight. That I was only thinking about recently. Okay. So the game has so this is another thing. What the game has now set us up for, and this is really brilliant, is that there is this whole loop, a gameplay loop, for every area in this game. And eventually the game will start to break it, but it will follow it for a long time before it breaks it. And it really helps us play it throughout the beginning stages. Because what the game has now taught us is, you enter a new area, you wander through the new area until you find Cornifer. Then you buy Cornifer's map. Cornifer's map will help you figure out where the next thing is. Probably a boss, right? It's probably going to be a boss fight, let's be honest. So Cornifer's... And here we can even hear Cornifer humming, which is how the game tells us we're close to him. Which is not, by the way, a reference to Luigi's Mansion, but I can't remember what it is a reference to. That was cleared up. I can't remember the song that he's singing. I think it's from an anime or something. Anyway. We rescued another grubby. We'll buy the map. So we find the area, find the new map. Cornifer will give us a little bit of commentary on it. Right? And then the map will show us where to go. Right? And in the meanwhile, we can either follow the map or we can explore off the map. Right? So anyway, so we can see now what the game wants us to do is go check out what looks like a collection of stained glass windows in the upper left. That's what's been marked down. So we're going to drop down, go along a hallway. And right now the game is still using the maps to kind of push us to where it wants us to go. And here's the thing. I'm not going to stop commenting on the maps because the game does more and more interesting things in every area with every map. Here also, by the way, is a shortcut that we can open up that will make it easier to get back here later, which is another thing the game loves doing. Anyway, False Night. Okay, and the weirdness of False Night. One of the things that you learn from the game, pretty much from the get-go, is healing costs mana and attacking enemies restores your mana. Every hit gives you mana, and that's how you get healing. So if you get hurt and you need to heal, you spend the mana to heal, and then if you need more mana, you have to go on the offensive. So you can't play purely defensive, because then if you get damaged, you have no way to heal yourself, yada, 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 right? It's a very straightforward thing. I'm not revealing anything earth-shattering here. False Night is basically the first real boss, because I would call the Gru's Mother more of a mini boss, even though she does serve an important role as one of the game's first bosses. Because all of the early bosses in the game teach you something important. Okay. So what's weird about False Night is when you hit him, because he's wearing this heavy suit of armor, you do not get soul from him. You only get soul from him when he staggers. That is when you've hit him enough times to knock him down, and then his little head pops out of his helmet, and then you hit him and then you get soul, because that's when you're actually hitting him instead of the armor. Which, that's neat, but it's also something the game never really does anything significant with again. I may be misremembering or not remembering something, but I am hard-pressed to remember any boss or any enemy where that is a significant issue, that attacking the boss does not restore your mana, and that there's some trick to restoring your mana. Which is weird, because I can think of interesting ways where you would want to do that, like a boss where it doesn't give you mana back at all, and then like the boss adds minions to the fight, like the Rolling Pillbug does. And see, there we go. Now, that's so interesting too. All right, well, yada yada yada. It's really weird that False Night does that, because no other boss really does anything with that, and it seems like it's setting up something that could be used creatively in other boss fights, and the game never does anything with it. The end of that story. I don't know why, and it's especially weird because it's the first boss in the game. Now, we just encountered Silksong again, and now she has run away again. And this is where, even if we were playing Explory, and we were like, oh, hold on, I want to go explore before I follow this long corridor, the fact that the character just showed up and ran away makes it really hard to want to now get off the path. Like, there's a sense of urgency that is created by this mysterious character running away from you. And showing it to you here, right before you have an option to go off the path, is a really clever thing to do. And it's not the only time that they're going to use Silksong to get us to try and chase. So we're gonna accept. See what I mean? By the way, you can see the little teeth of the Venus flytrap guys. But we're gonna accept the game's proposition here, and we're gonna keep chasing Silksong. Okay, because it's just so smart. Like, everything about this game is designed to give you freedom, but also to push and pull you the way they want you to go. That's why I describe this as like a mastery of the craft of Metroidvania design. But also, its mechanics are phenomenal. Its controls, its approachability are all really well done. And I'm not really discussing all the little minor enemies and stuff. These little guys are kind of a pain. And there she is again. So I kind of want to go over here, but I don't want to go over here because I almost caught her now. And the fact that we've had another encounter close by is like, okay, we need to, oh, she's right there. Okay, we're going to go get her. No, okay, but she's got to be close, right? Because we were getting closer. Maybe I shouldn't even stop and get this money. So the game has now created this real sense of urgency. It's so well done. All right, we're going to find her. She's got to be up here somewhere, right? I mean, I know we all know. Except apparently Norman, the only person in the world who apparently has not played Hollow Knight. Which, man, I wish I could be you. If there was a game that I could erase my memory of and play again for the first time, though clearly looking at me manage my platforming, you're thinking, well, you're kind of playing for the first time now, aren't you? No, but if there was a game I could erase my memory of and replay for the first time, it would be this one. I used to say that about Metroid Prime, the first one. And before that, I used to say that about Super Metroid. Oops. I'm just being a complete derp now. And I'm just going to... Well, I did promise crappy. Yeah, like Tunic would be... It would depend on how many blasts of the neuralizer I could take before brain damage. Tunic and Obra Dinn would be high there too. Arkham Asylum. I love Arkham Asylum. The first one, Arkham Asylum. Not any of the other ones. Where did... Damn it. See, now it makes you not feel so bad, right, Procelus? So why do you watch this guy stream? He's so crappy at the games he plays that he claims to love and says that he put 400 hours into, and yet he just like bonks into enemies and rubs his face on every boss. And if he didn't have a healing mechanic, he couldn't win the game. It's like, yeah, but it makes me feel so much better about how I play them. It's aspirational. It's nice seeing someone that I could play better than. Oh, and then it's this guy. I forgot this guy is like a mini. This guy's a mini. Oh shit, he's hiding behind the chat boxes. Damn it, the one strategy I couldn't count on. Whenever somebody posts a chat, I get a little message box about it on my TV. And then if it's too long to read on my TV, I'm making a real hash of this. This, by the way, this is an enemy who, apart from the fact that he is definitely about to kill me, okay, we're just gonna hide over here and heal a bit. But he is definitely an enemy that shows the Zelda 2 influence, right? Like, he is very much like the Iron Knuckles from Zelda 2. High shield, low shield, slash attack. I handled him very badly, by the way. But I employ, like, so my favorite strategy in games like this is what I call the I'll quit it, he'll take this strategy. Which you can probably guess how it goes. This, oh my gosh, this is beautiful, and I didn't remember this. Look at how the color filter comes in and out. Like, we got green, and then the lighting turns to blue to indicate that we're kind of crossing just a little outside. We're now on the outer edge of the green path. We're above it on the map. But we are zeroing in on where we want to go. Except we've now kind of forgotten about Hornet, or Silksong, or whatever her name is. Do we want to explore a little? We don't know which way she went. Let's go this way. Okay, and now we're definitely out of the green path. Which maybe we don't want to be, but we'll look around here and see. And we'll take a stalactite in the face. So earlier when I was saying, yeah, I never like bothered to beat the Pantheons, or, you know, all the real like post end game stuff. Yeah, before it sounded like I had that option. Right, like, oh yeah, I just chose not to. I totally could. I could totally beat, like, Absolute Radiance with soul binding and my nail tied behind my back on a Guitar Hero controller. I just choose not to. Whoop. Oh, that's a jump we just can't make because there's a ceiling and we bonk our head on it. I guess we can't go any further in that direction. Huh. Okay. I also love the silence after the sound of... Not that you can hear it over my voice, but... Like, there's not even any music here. Okay. Anywho. And then the music kind of fades back in. And then we're just gonna fall onto everything. It's fine. Okay. Oh, we're gonna meet another of the best characters. You know what? Holy crap! I'm not gonna keep doing the dissing Silksong thing, but man, when it comes to like charming and memorable characters, Hollow Knight beats Silksong 100 times over. Like, okay, so there's Sherma, but anyway, sorry, done. Oh no, our poor little bro, who happens to look and be dressed exactly like us, which entices us to help him, which we do by slashing, because that's how we communicate with things. And then, also, I'll quit it. What you're supposed to do... I don't even care very much for Chakram. Sherma's okay. So, oh, also I'm out of mana, that's why my spell won't work. Oh, like, why won't my spell come out? It's just like when I was playing Demon Souls and kept forgetting that stamina. So what you're supposed to do, if you're good at this, is as he swoops by, you just do your downward slash. Right? You do a couple of those, bingo, bango, you're done. Unlike me, I'll quit it, soul slash, or soul fireball. I love Zote. By the way, there will be a point where I'm reading out loud to the chat again some 20 hours from now, and that will be, we are reading every one of Zote's 47, 52, 98 precepts of Zote. His 99 theses. Zote the Mighty, Knight of Great Renown. Cross me and you'll find out why they call my weapon Life Ender. You know what, too? Like, Hollow Knight is willing to make fun of its characters. It's willing to make its characters seem incompetent and foolish and silly. Like, the Knight gets made fun of a lot. Okay. All right. You know what? Hey, you didn't see Silksong come through here, did you? All right, and then now we're coming back into the green path. All right, and hopefully we can pick up Silksong's trail here. Whoa. Those guys are... So when you run out of mana, the giant cucumber guys are really hard to deal with. All right. So we're going to have to deal with... We got another one of these mossy knights. All right, let's not have a repeat of the last situation. Let's actually... All right, so we bap... Oops. I forget he gets a ranged attack. So we bap him. And then when he gets locked into an attack cycle, then we jump into it. Okay, so that was okay. And then I shot his corpse with a fireball. Just that final little and another thing. Oh, yeah? Oh, and he's got a friend behind him, too. So why don't you come out here? We're going to do the Dark Souls method. I'm picking the battlefield. All right. Right. Tap. Nope. Okay. Tap. Yeah, so see, we tap him, and then when he attacks... There. Ha! It looks like it can almost play the game. Oh. Shut up. Okay, you just... Oh. Really expected those 4 fireballs to kill him. Alright, it's fine. There's plenty of money here. What I really want to be able to do is I want to be able to afford the lantern as fast as possible. That's why I'm doing all of this with the money. Or that's why I'm doing with the money here. Alright. But now we have completely lost the trail of Silksong. However, we are back near here. Okay. So we're close. And at this point we can guess that Silksong went to that JF. There's a parry mechanic? Oh, hey, thanks for hanging out, JF. Good to see ya. What the hell? Why do I... Well, it was bound to happen eventually. K99999 wants me to start a playthrough of Elden Ring and critique it. Yeah, my critique would be, fuck this, I'm done. Elden Ring, I bounced off of. Okay, no, actually, there is a parry mechanic, okay? There is also one in Silksong, okay? Where essentially if you strike an opponent as they attack with like frame perfect accuracy, you will nullify their attack. Okay, it is just a matter of striking at the exact right frame when they strike you. It is so underdeveloped and so tight that calling it a mechanic is like, because like, you don't, a lot of people don't even realize it's a mechanic so much as just think it's like an accident of the collision boxes. But yeah, it is technically a mechanic, but it is not absolutely something that you want to rely upon. Yeah, this game has parry accident. Where am I going? Oh, I'm trying to get over, because at this point we have decided that Silksong probably went to the stained glass window thing on the map. Oh, and look at, like, this looks like significant. Let's go this way. Oh, this is going to be a disaster. This is going to be worse than the lace incident of 2 weeks ago, isn't it? All right. Yeah, and JF is pointing out, like, you only get like one frame of, you only get one iframe from the parry. So, like, it usually doesn't even last long enough for you to get out of the attack. Silksong's cloak looks really drab. She's so much brighter in the... Okay. Alright. Right. Okay. Does anyone at this point believe that I have actually beaten this game? I'm fighting her like a Goomba. I'm like just trying to stomp on her. You know what? So, what I was trying to do... So I was trying to use Hornet's moveset against her. I was like trying to do like the downward diagonal bounce off her head thing. Like I locked in. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna lock in for Hornet because I don't want to embarrass myself here. And I locked in and immediately locked into the Silksong control set. And so like I was expecting to like, strike her diagonally, and then bounce off and do a flip. I also shouldn't admit this, but I was playing Silksong earlier today. To warm up for this stream, I decided to play a game that is so close to it in moveset, but not the same that it would completely fuck me up for tonight's stream, just because it would increase the entertainment value. Okay. At this, Hornet is, because her name is not Silksong, her name is Hornet, because she is the bastard offspring of a giant worm and a spider who was raised by bees, and so naturally her name is Hornet. And Hornet is the most complex character that you have encountered thus far in the game. She has a much more complicated moveset than any other opponent, though those mossy knights are kind of close. And so... But we're not gonna fuck around here. Okay. I'm actually gonna be a little quiet here, and we're just gonna... Okay, really, actually, now I'm getting... I was trying to hide from her behind the messages. Oops. Still not quite nailing the distance on my downward strike. Whoops. I absolutely love also she does this little laugh. Alright, that actually wasn't so bad. I kind of looked like I knew what I was doing for moments. Okay. That wasn't the worst. There wasn't 7 attempts against Lace. Okay. Anyway. Okay, and what did we just acquire? And why aren't the gates up? Are the gates... What? Oh. Oh, okay. And if we've been paying attention to the game's visual language, we might notice that those strange, ghostly entities that do not want us to continue are wearing the same masks that we have seen on the black egg, that were holding back whatever it was that we were trying to avoid. And now we have acquired our second traversal ability, the Mothwing Cloak, which allows us to have a horizontal dash, which I really like, but it is very different from her... Yeah. Which is very different from Silksong, the speed boost. And that's going to screw me up, too. This is all going to screw me up. Okay. But what's also interesting is we now have the horizontal dash that would have allowed us to chase Hornet earlier. Only we can't now because we already caught her. And she gave us her little test and said, I can't let you go any further. And, you know, or would you, what, are you going to ruin the world or whatever? And then we find the Lake of Un. And this guy. All right. It's fine. And Quirrell again. I love him. I love that he has a dad bod too. I like that he's kind of old. He's got a little paunchy belly. He's just like this kind, warm fellow traveler. And honestly, there's something really wonderful about the fact that the knight, your character, is just silent. So everything is everybody else's commentary on the journey. And Quirrell then, sort of as the kindred spirit, he works to kind of externalize the exploration so that the knight doesn't have to constantly comment on his own journey. And again, he's saying that, you know, we're going to have to keep getting more powerful to face things. All right. But now that we have this horizontal dash, we're in kind of an interesting position because unlike in Forgotten Crossroads, nothing jumps out at us as a way that we could proceed further. Right? Like, I don't remember. The one thing I do remember, actually, is in the windswept area above, there was that one jump I couldn't make because there was a roof. Oh, and we got another one of those. And so I could probably go back there. And in fact, maybe we will. Let's go back there. But beyond that, this ability does not suggest a way to go. Though it does sort of... Okay, let's not go back there. Let's not go back there. That's a silly place. Okay. And now we know what this symbol is, because Norman, you were asking about the signpost earlier. Now that we have understood this symbol, we know, oh, that's a fast travel station. Those signs will always point me to a fast travel, which we're not going to use. Or maybe we should. I don't remember. Does anyone remember how much the lantern costs? Can I afford it yet? I probably can't. I think it's 1,800, isn't it? If I can afford the lantern, I'll go back for it. Otherwise, you know what? It's fine. We'll just summon the stag. We'll talk to him. The stag also provides commentary on each location as you unlock it. Thank you, Kate. Kate is reminding me it's 1,800 GO. Yeah. So the stag also provides a little commentary on each location. Okay. But, so we don't necessarily have a thing that's jumping out at us as the next location to explore. But we have been spit out into this tunnel, so there's still basically a forward. And so we'll just keep moving forward. Especially because, hell, it's Green Path. Who doesn't love Green Path? And again, I don't want to keep commenting on compare and contrast, because I really do think that, you know, like I've made it known that I think this is the better of the two games, and that Silksong failed to measure up to it in a lot of ways. But I do want to comment on how complex these first two areas are compared to the early areas in Silksong, which are very straightforward, very linear. There's not a whole lot of decisions to make, and they all kind of lead back into the same thing. And on top of that, the gameplay loop of enter a new area, find the map, now find the boss, get a new ability, now figure out where to go with that ability, explore around, like, you know, it's like that loop is so solidified, and at the same time as Hollow Knight goes on, it gradually plays with that loop. It doesn't, like, the loop and it starts playing with the loop very early on. It never quite breaks the loop. That's still always a good lesson to have, but it does more and more interesting stuff with it as time goes on. But the first thing it wants you to do is understand the rules. And, oh, this is the first place we encounter these thorns. Right? So let's, alright, well, let's keep... Oh, okay. So we've looped around. And honestly, I am making it a little harder on myself, hypothetical me who is playing this for the first time, by not buying the upgrade that lets the map update itself. But I really do want to keep commenting on the map. See, Hollow Knight did get a lot of credit for the way it used its map system. And I think it did well, but I also think it did poorly. And I also don't think that it invented the system that it gets credit for inventing. Okay, and I'll clarify that. But first, I want you to listen to the music for a second, because I'm about to come into an area where I want to show you something about the soundtrack design in this game. It's something that I absolutely love about it. Okay, so we're just going to be quiet, and we're just going to enjoy the music for a bit, and just pay attention. I may have picked the one area that doesn't actually do what I'm thinking of. Huh. Alright, we'll come back to it in Crystal Peak. Okay. So I do want to point out this little room, though I think it does do the soundtrack thing. I think it's just way too subtle to notice if you don't know what you're listening to. Okay. So this little side room here is something that Hollow Knight does a lot of, where it's giving us a little platforming challenge, right? It's like, okay, use your traversal ability, overcome this thing, here's a prize, and then that's it. Just a little dead end, you're done. But here's a little shortcut back to the beginning so you don't have to zip through the whole thing. Okay. Hollow Knight uses... Yeah, it is. It's the room where you have to bounce across all the hard shell guys. Okay. So it's not this room. So we'll come back to that. We'll save the dynamic soundtrack for Crystal Peak, which I think does it better anyway. But anyway, so Hollow Knight has a lot of those little short side diversions, right? Where it's like, here's a little gauntlet. Here's a little, can you just show me you can do the platforming. Here's a little challenge. Usually it's related to an ability you've picked up recently. And then you get a prize for it. Like a mask shard or something. Well, we'll see more of them. And then it gives you a little shortcut back to the entrance. It's just a little, can you beat this little... It's sort of the platforming equivalent of a mini boss with an item behind it. And you know what? Since we're below that area, we're gonna go ahead and... Oh, you know what else I forgot to? I forgot... Shades of Silksong. I forgot to put on my charms. Because I have a charm that lowers the cost of magic. Which I absolutely love to wear. And I should talk about the charm system a bit, too. There's just so much. Okay. So anyway, we're kind of now wandering. Okay, we're a little bit lost, to be totally honest. Because the game has given us an ability, and there's not a clear place to use it. And that's okay. Yeah, Soul... So, yeah, I guess we can do the charm thing now. Alright, next time I hit a bench, somebody... Oh, good. You're in trouble, dude, because I remembered how to fight you guys now. Oh. Yeah, screw you! That's what it looks like with someone who's not completely incompetent. I didn't even have to say I'll quit it once. Okay. Alright, yeah, this thing. Yeah. Because there is a place where we can now use the Mothwing dash cloak zip, the air zip ability. And it's up here. And I don't have to use it here, but I like using it. I love the Mothwing cloak. Aw, thanks, Kate. Yeah, I even avoided that stalactite. I better be careful. I'm going to start being mistaken for someone continent. I'm going to be mistaken for someone who can control their bladder. So that is such a funny chest, right? Because one geo pops out and it pops straight up and drops back into the chest. So you're like, oh, I'm going to get that. Oh. Well. Alright, you know what? Even though I know that he's completely shielded from my attacks, I'm just going to keep firing at him. What's actually really neat in this room is, even though it's like this, it is a nasty trap, but if you're smart about these guys, you figured out that if you stay close to one of them, he just leaves you alone. Right? Like, it's an emergent strategy of just, you know how to deal with these guys now. Except now that there's only one. And he keeps sending roly-polies to hide behind Kate's message about 2 roly-polies and it being out of hand. Yeah, and then this shortcuts us back this way. And this gets us another charm. And I haven't really been looking at the charms. So, here's another charm. We get, the Balder Shell, right? It really is terrible. Like, I lose about 1/6 of the lower right-hand corner of the screen when the messages stack up. I can't blame, like, that was angry that those spikes were not in the lower right-hand 1/6 of the screen. Like, I know that's just me. Okay. And now again, we're still kind of like, yeah, I don't really know what to do and where to go from here. I'm just kind of wandering. I didn't comment on the corpse running thing, even though I died. I don't care. Look, there are no illusions about this. I am not here to show off like the techniques or anything, right? I'm not gonna be like, oh, hey, here's a speed running expert sequence breaking technique where you can use the ricochet of your soul shoot to get up to that ledge, and you know, and then skip the first super missile, and then not have to fight Kraid, right? Like, that's not what we're here for. We're here for me being just competent enough that I will eventually get through the game, while I keep finding things to randomly talk. Oh, is there a bench? I'll get to a bench eventually. It's fine. It's fine. I didn't even remember there was a bench. Did I literally sit on a bench and not even notice that I had sat on a bench? Did I just sit on a bench? Oh shit. Okay. It's fine. It's fine. Okay, so the other way to beat these guys is to holy shit, I wasn't even watching. Like, where was I? So you can use your dash attack to attack them after they pop out of their cucumber form. Oh shit, okay. We don't have to do this. Alright, we're not... So the one thing we're not going to do in this run, even though I do it every time I beat this game, is completely fill out the entire bestiary. Okay. This is honestly where not having the map quill. Oh, I want to talk about the map. We need to talk about the map system, right? There's a bench over here. I'm going to go sit on the bench and look at my charms. Here's the bench. Okay. I'm going to take the compass off for now. So we have a couple of different charms. Okay. The Balder Shell, while we're healing, it makes us a little bit invulnerable. Thorns of Agony, when we take damage, we do an area burst damage around us. And the Soul Catcher increases the amount of soul we recover. Okay. This is already kind of telling you what the charm system is doing, and it's letting you lean into a play style. If you do a lot of healing, Balder Shell is good for you. If you take a lot of damage, Thorns of Agony is good, and it's good to pair them together. If you like using spells, which I do, I use a lot of spells. Soul Catcher is good because it helps you restore your mana. Soul Catcher is also good because it helps you have enough mana to heal. So just like in Paper Mario, while most of the badges or charms do not change your basic moveset in a significant way, what they do is let you adjust your playstyle a little bit, or get a little boosty that helps your particular playstyle. My playstyle through most of the early game is shoot it with magic. And then in the late game, I do eventually start adjusting my charm loadout for different bosses. Okay, and this area is a darker area, but it's not so dark we can't see. Okay. I mentioned that... Let's talk about the whole map system thing. I'm going to walk into a spike pit to buy myself some time to talk about the map system. And here we have this place, and I don't think we can do anything in here because it's too dark. Yeah, so without the lantern, we can't do anything, but we're pretty close to being able to afford the lantern now. Okay, that's fine. It's fine. We don't want to go in there anyway, except we do. Okay. So the first thing I mentioned is that this game uses its map to help the player explore. And I've already pointed that out in 2 different areas, and we don't need to go through it again. What often gets forgotten is that Super Metroid very effectively did exactly the same thing. That in the different areas of the game, there were map stations hidden around, and you would be able to download the map of the area you were currently in. And that map would often reveal important aspects of the area. It would reveal hidden passages. In fact, your way to find the Kraid, the boss of Brinstar, was driven entirely by the map, as well as the path out of the starter area in Criteria. It was the map was telling you where these passages were, and then by following the map, you would be able to locate these passages and make progress. And so Hollow Knight here is really just the evolution of that system, where it is not just giving you a map to help you keep track of your location. I forgot there was a boss coming. I forgot the giant cucumber lives here. I forgot he jumps on you. Okay. Okay. There is a video that I absolutely love. Well, if I die to the massive moss charger, though, by the way, that's going to be terrible. So we're just going to... Well... so I'm going to just jump into him. I'm going to smack him. Or run under him. Okay. Whoa! Oh, this is going to be embarrassing. I slashed too early. Okay. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. All right. Fortunately, the threat of me being competent has been erased. We are no longer in danger that I might be mistaken for someone who actually knows how to play this game. I just lost to the massive moss cucumber. So I was commenting, oh no, you did not. Because I need my corpse, jerk. Oh, here, it's doing the music thing. Hold on. It's doing the music thing. Okay. Music, listen. I'm going to get killed again because I wanted to show off the music. Okay. So, the game has a dynamic soundtrack. Every area in the game has a particular song to it. And each song has 2 variations. The normal theme for when you're exploring, and then what I'm going to call after the Super Mario designation. I'm getting hurt because I'm talking. Okay? And I'm not... It's fine. I don't care. Whatever happens, happens. Okay, and then what I'm going to call the athletic theme after the Super Mario designation. Okay, the athletic theme kicks in for things like mini-bosses, difficult platforming challenges, when you jump into a giant leafy monster. I'm glad, because if I had to do that a 3rd time, let's never speak of that again. Okay. Anyway, I really love that. I especially love the Crystal Peak variation, which has an absolutely beautiful song to begin with, and then when it kicks in with its athletic theme, like when you're dodging like crystal lasers, it's really cool. And I'm gonna mute my microphone, and we're gonna end up listening to that for a while, in like 3 weeks. Oops. Okay. So getting back to the map thing. So the idea of using the map not just to help to make it so the player doesn't get lost and remembers the layout of the area, but also to cue the player as to where to go next and where to investigate, was something that Super Metroid, and to a lesser extent, Metroid Prime did very well, and this was just the next logical step for it. And I'm not saying that Ari and William didn't learn their lesson in spades, because they sure as hell did. They pulled it off beautifully. Yeah, I have enough money for the lamp now, but I have no way to get back there, and I'm probably going to die anyway. All right. We're gonna take on a little challenge here. I think this is the wrong way. But notice, so Green Path actually makes a very interesting choice. Okay, because in the previous area, we found the power up, we found the way to move on. You know, we found the obstacle we needed the power up to beat, which was the roly-poly bug. And then immediately we were rewarded with a new area. Whereas here, we found our power up like halfway through. Whoops. All right. Whereas here we found our new power up like halfway through the area, and then we were just sort of at a loose end. And now we're just sort of wandering down dead ends and trying to find where to go next. And while in general you don't want a player to feel frustrated not knowing where to go next, the game makes a conscious choice to let you be a little lost here, because there's not so many ways that you could go that you're going to spend hours like I don't even know, like I've checked everywhere, it makes no sense. Okay, every path does lead to something a little bit interesting, and so it's kind of okay now that we're just sort of wandering around off the you know, a little bit off the or we're falling into the acid a lot, not looking down where we jump, looking for the next way to go, looking for something that looks like progress. And then, of course, we see this transition. Because now we've learned how the game uses transitions to tell us we're moving from one area to another. And so here we are now. And I'm going to keep playing for a bit. I was going to call this at 2 hours, but I'm kind of having fun, and so I'm going to hang out for another half hour or so. Okay? Because now we've entered this area, Fog Canyon, which is very, very different. And that's another nice thing, is like the 3 areas we've now been through. We had caves, then we had like grassy nature, and now we have sort of this weird jellyfish bubble zone. Which, again, I'm going to just get killed, aren't I? Okay. Okay. And now we can hear Cornifer, right? But we encountered this thing. Okay. That's... So we're probably going to have to come around and find another way, because we can't get through that. Okay, that's fine. I guess we could try to spell it, right? Let's like, try to zap it. Even though, like, there is no reason for that, by the way. The game has already been clear about what our different verbs do, what attack does, what spell does. We've encountered nothing like that, nothing in that same visual language. There's no reason to think that the tools we have would do us any good with that. Yeah, and I'm going to claim I did that on purpose to show off that those big jellyfish do this nasty thing where... Oh, I don't know why I'm going up. Where if you kill them, their little nucleus then chases you down and does an explosion that does 2 points of damage. And it was because we were having such a good time that I wanted to go ahead and go through this again. All right. We're not gonna kill everything and get every dollar on the way, even though I keep insisting on doing that. We're just gonna get back to where we were pretty quickly. Oh no, if I don't get my corpse back, I'm gonna be really upset. Okay. Alright, it wasn't that far. Okay. Let's not fuck around with the big jellyfish. I also love the audio cue, the little lullaby when you are close to your corpse. With your shade. It's called your shade, right? Something that I haven't been able to show off, and I turns out that a lot of people have gone through the game without ever noticing it. The shade's abilities change as you level, or as you go through the game. So once you get the... Yeah, I don't know what the hell I was thinking there. Okay. So after you get the soul shoot spell, the fireball spell that I've been using, the shade can then do that too. The shade's hit points also change based on the number of hit points you have, and of course, as you upgrade your weapon, the damage is calculated based on that. And as you gain other spells, your little shade will use those new spells against you as well. Okay. Now, what's really weird is that, like, I was going to try and loop around, and I want to get past that strange black barricade to get back to Cornifer. Because I really want the map, because the game taught me, find a new area, get the map will tell you where to go, then fight a boss, then get a new ability, and it's not letting me... Yes, so it's a corpse running mechanic, Norman, so if you die, you leave behind a ghost of your former self, which has all of your money, and has your maximum mana, also. And then you have to fight it to get it back. And the shade will be aggressive to you. It's not super difficult to beat, which was a smart move. But, it's not really super difficult. I love Fog Canyon, too. Procelus is commenting on how pretty this area is. It has a nice soundtrack. It is a very pretty area. So we are going to open a bank account. We'll talk about Millabelle the banker later. Okay. It is interesting because when you die, all of your money gets left behind on your corpse. So the idea of having a bank is useful. It's like, oh, okay, I could store my money here and not lose it. Like if I die, my money was safe, and then I can go back and get that money, which was... whoops. I dropped and missed literally every platform on the way down because I didn't mean to do that. But anyway. Now the funny thing is we're already through Fog Canyon. But we have Quirrell again. I love Quirrell. I am actually tempted to do a cosplay of Quirrell at Gen Con this summer, but I don't think I'm gonna. I have the right body for him, because I'm kind of old and I'm fat, but I think my cosplaying days are a bit behind me anyway. I love how reflective and, like, respectful of the world Quirrell is. It's really, really nice. Okay. So, now we found a big stag station, right? Fast travel. Only there's not a stag here. There's instead this thing. Which is just Willow. I don't even know what the deal is with Willow. I'm sure there's a Vadi video about her back, or Mossbag, right? Because Vadi video didn't do Hollow Knight, but Mossbag did. If you've never watched Mossbag, by the way, he does all the lore videos for Hollow Knight and Silksong. He's really good and really funny. I love his videos a lot. She's also a cannibal. She eats bugs. She eats other bugs. That is her actual deal. She's actually eating another, or she has eaten other bugs. It is implied. She might have been Like, there's a way to find out, actually. Oh, I can't turn it on from in the game. So there is actually an option where you can see the name of the backer who created the character. If the character's name appears on the screen, you'll get the backer credit for it, because a lot of these characters were created by backers. Though a lot of them were changed in some really drastic ways. Okay. I also really love the stag. Especially once you get the dream nail and you start getting some insight into these characters. I should probably call it a night here, though, shouldn't I? Yeah, I can't do... Yeah, I can't. Okay, it's fine. So I'm going to comment on this, and then we're going to go back and buy the... Okay. So this is interesting. We have now completely moved on. That Fog Canyon area, we never got a map of it. It consisted basically of 2 vertical drops, and then we moved on. And it stands out because after 2 zones of go into the zone, you know, find the map, find the boss, find an ability. Now we have this weird zone that we just kind of passed briefly through. There was an obstacle we couldn't get past. That we couldn't even get to the map. And then we're just gone. And then we just move on. And Fog Canyon does become significant later, obviously. But, and here Elderbug is saying, hey, you should visit the fungal wastes. Right, because, as I noted, he comments on... Oh, the other thing, before we do that, the other thing... We did, Norman, we heard Cornifer, but we couldn't get past him, or we couldn't get to him because of that weird black barricade. Oh, meanwhile, Zote has come up here. So we have no idea where Cornifer was. We heard him, but we can't get to him. We figured we'd come around some other way, and then just never did, and then the zone just passed us by. And now we're on to the next place. And it's just this minor moment, and after a little while, you won't even remember it. And plus, we meet Kizo, who I don't care for. He's pretty dull, but that's okay. An arena exists somewhere, one built for our like. Meet me there and test your skills. Okay, and the reason I'm going down here is because since we're nearby, we should check in with the Grub Father. Right? Though I really don't need to do this, but since I'm here anyway, we might as well check in with the Grub Father. Oh! Oh, he's giving us something special there. Our first mask shard. Like in Legend of Zelda, mask shards work like heart containers. Once you gather 4 of them, you get a new mask. Basically another hit point. And that's that. That's mask shards. I haven't really been spending a lot of time in the menu talking about every little thing. It's hard to decide what to discuss. Next time I really do want to talk about where I think the map system kind of falls flat in this game. Oh, and then there's one other thing, just because I happen to know about it. And this has to do with how NPC encounters work. After Tizo leaves Dirtmouth, the next place he appears is here in the Forgotten Crossroads. And then he makes fun of us because we use fast travel. So what happens is the NPCs, they appear in different locations at different times in the game, and then they move to new locations after you interact with them. And if you follow... You can kind of follow their different paths through the game. Quirrell basically follows the critical path through the game, as does what's her name, Cloth. But we haven't met Cloth yet. And then other NPCs just kind of pop up here and there. But we are going to take our lantern, which now lets us go through dark areas. I don't care for Stalwart Shell, but we'll buy another Mask Shard. Okay. And then we're going to go back to the Queen Station where we left. As a general rule, I don't like to use the fast travel in this game, and I don't like what it does to the progression in the game. And I'm sure at some point I will have a longer diatribe about that as well. We'll just queue it up. But we're going to rest here, and I'm going to call it a night. We're going to end the stream here. I had a really good time. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with me. I hope this was enjoyable. I know that this is a game that a lot of people know backwards, frontwards, and sideways. But nonetheless, I hope I had some interesting things to say about it, and that you're interested enough to keep coming as we go through the game. And then we are going to move on to Silksong. But I do plan to beat Silksong before I try to stream it, just so that I can actually know what I'm doing. But otherwise, so I will be back next Sunday, same time. And we'll continue to explore the world of Hallownest. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out. For members of my community, I'm pretty sure I scheduled my mostly monthly live chat for Discord members tomorrow night, which is Monday, April 6th. So, and I have no idea what that's going to be about. And otherwise, yeah, I'll see you guys next week. All right. There's nothing else to say. Everybody take care, and again, happy Easter.